Hey everyone. So I have been thinking a lot about how to help you um, to connect with your parts between sessions. So this is something that comes up often, and there are usually some challenges that come up, and also just kind of like some confusion of like, how do you do that? How do I do that? How do I connect with my parts when I'm not in therapy and it's the two of us in that space together? And you know, sometimes parts get a little bit scared or worried or confused about how to do it when I'm not present, specifically for you. And so I wanted to give you some ideas on how to connect with your parts. And there's not one right way to do it, just whatever way clicks with you. And you're like, hey, I think, yeah, there's no objection to that. Let's try that. Start with that one, whatever that one is. So that place inside, how do you do that when you're alone? How do you do that when I'm not there asking the questions? Well, here's a little secret that sometimes I neglect to mention in session, and that is my job is to help you connect with your parts. So the questions that I ask are really just facilitating your connection with your parts. So you're already practicing it when we're together in session. So when you're not in session, just taking whatever you're curious about and bringing that inside and seeing who comes up, really. So let's just say there's something on your mind. You are feeling something going on in your stomach and you don't know why. And just closing your eyes, if you have the time and space. So this is an option if you have time and space for like kind of that private time, to just close your eyes and see who's around. Who is around in this place in my stomach that's feeling anxious? And whoever is around, asking 3 questions. How is this part feeling? What does it need? And what is it afraid of? And that's it. And just connecting with it. That's all that's necessary to begin practicing this and building that relationship between sessions. It could even be something that's not a problem. So let's say you have a certain time of the day that you decide to do this, and it's in the morning, and you wake up and there's nothing wrong. You're just having a regular morning, and it's your time to check in with your parts because that's what you've decided you're going to do. So you just close your eyes. And then sometimes in session, we'll do that thing where it's like, who's around? And that's a good time to do who's around. And if any parts want to come forward. And then again, those 3 questions. What is the part that's coming up feeling? What does it need? And are there any fears? And there might not be any fears if it's not a problem. So it might just be like, who's around and what do you need? And then a third way to do that, if you're setting some time aside for that, is just to see what thoughts are coming through. Because if there's a thought, it is more than likely a part. Okay, so just checking in with a thought. So let's say I'm getting ready, and my hair is always a thing, so I'm just gonna go with my hair. I'm getting ready, and as I'm getting ready, like my hair naturally parted here today. And there are always parts involved with my hair. So one part is just like, how dare you part your hair, not in the middle? You look like an old millennial, and that's bad. And just recognizing that and going, oh, hey, part, you don't like this. Thanks for your input. That's it, right? Like, this may not be a need or a fear, but it's definitely a feeling that this part is having, one of those 3 things, and just acknowledging that, right? Like, okay, I'm aware you're there and you definitely don't like this. Thank you for letting me know. And then there's always like another part. And usually the other part is like, yeah, but like not really feeling like wanting to spend time on the hair thing today. I just want to get through like the hair thing. And it's going to get in your face anyway, so we're just going to put 2 clips in it. That's another part. And just acknowledging that, like, hey, this part has a feeling, and that feeling is we have other things to do today. We don't have time for this. Just put your hair in 2 clips and get going, right? And that one might have more concerns. Like, I just have a gut feeling, right? Like, there's a concern there. And I can just ask if I have that feeling. Like, what do you need? What are you afraid of? And it might be like, it's Tuesday and you didn't get your Monday list done and you need to get your Monday list done. So that's why you need to hurry. So just that awareness, right? Even if there's no concerns, being aware of your thoughts is like being aware of your parts. And sometimes you can just acknowledge it, right? What they're feeling. And sometimes it might go further than that, like what they're feeling, what they need, and maybe even what they're afraid of. So those 3 things. Looking at a part or being with a part inside, seeing who comes up, or asking a question or noticing a thought, and then seeing how they feel, what they need, and what they're afraid of. And then another thing that you can do is just begin to practice what's called self-leadership. So in your sessions, a lot of times we're talking about like that true you place, right? Like yourself, and then your parts. And part of what we're doing in the work that we do together, as yes, there's healing happening, but along with that, in these connections that you're making with your parts, even the ones that don't need healing, what they are beginning to realize is that they have you. And I say that a lot, right? Like, they have you, and it's true. And as they have you, you can lead them, because we're not getting rid of any parts. We're just helping parts that are exhausted from what they're doing, helping parts that hold distress. And once they are helped, and once they don't have to be exhausted in the work that they've been doing, and even in the process of that, they can come to you with their concerns, and then you can make decisions. So you're becoming the leader, and your parts are a beautiful part of you that are a part of that. Because even with my hair, right? Like, there's a part that doesn't want me to look old, even though I have a white hair literally hanging out. There's a part that wants me to just get through it. And, there's even a part that just really loves the way my hair looks and that I have really beautiful curls. Like, this part's just like, they're beautiful. So being with those 3 parts and kind of going, okay, maybe my decision is, yeah, I didn't get my Monday list done, and that's kind of a priority for right now. So that's what we're going to focus on. And we're just going to go ahead and put the hair back. It's going to be down, it's going to be curly, so it's going to look kind of good, but it's also going to be back and a little bit less work. So there's a self-led decision right there between my parts. And then also, this is something that it's different level of comfort for everybody, but just using parts language. So instead of saying, for example, if you're having a very anxious moment and saying, oh my God, I feel so anxious, changing that language up, almost like when you're inside, right, and you're aware of a part and you connect with it, literally changing the language when you're not inside and you're just having a moment can help that connection between you and your parts. It's like that thing where I say, like, well, like when you see it or feel it or hear it, whatever it's doing, however you're connecting with it, if it can be with you, then it doesn't have to overwhelm you, and then you can help it. Well, in the same way, in the outside world, when you're in the middle of something, just if you're feeling anxious, rather than saying, I feel anxious, even though it definitely feels that way in the moment, trying out using parts language, like in your head, even if it's not out loud, if it's just between you, and you're just like, there is a part of me that feels anxious. And just that distinction of the difference between you and the part can help you to connect with the part that's feeling the anxiety more. It's kind of crazy how it works, but it just does. So yeah, so just helps you to identify it more and connect with it more. Okay. So along with that, there is one thing that I hear more often and experience myself most often when working with parts between sessions or on your own. And that is, maybe you set a time or a number of times a week or a number of times a day or a certain activity that you're doing, right? And that's like your agreement to check in with this part or your parts or a certain part that you're working with in session. And it doesn't happen. And this happens to all of us. And one of the things that I encourage you to do is to see who is around that doesn't think it's safe to check in with that part. So if I have, what happens to me more often than not is I get a part that distracts me. So I set my time in the morning to check in on my parts. And sometimes I will literally like Facebook scroll through that time, or I will just get going with my day sooner, or I'll like add 5 other things to my list of things to do. And using parts language, I guess I should practice that now, right? So a part comes in and distracts me from that, so I scroll. Or a part that really, really, really thinks I need to get things done that day takes over and is like, we don't have time for that. We have more important things to do, and we're going to do those things. Or there's another part that just kind of fills in things for me. And if I were to spend some time with those parts and really see what their concerns are, then that may help them to feel safer and more comfortable with me checking in on the parts I intend to check in on between sessions. Because, right, like all parts are welcome, and if a part is stepping in, there's a reason for that. And so it's okay to check in and see who's in the way, because they're in the way for a reason. And it's some kind of attempt to be helpful, whether that's to keep you from feeling uncomfortable or to keep some chain of events from happening that they were afraid may happen, or just because there's other things that are on that part's agenda. There's a reason, and it's okay to hear their concerns. And if that's as far as you get, that is beautiful. So that's one of the things that I think is helping a lot, is just really, if it's not working out, noticing what thoughts are going through your head or what actions you're taking instead of checking in, and checking in with the parts that have to do with that distraction or that fear of it, or even just like that wipe out, totally forget thing. So I hope that these ideas are helpful. I'm probably going to come back with some other another video on connecting with parts, like through expression, and like mapping parts or drawing parts or writing about parts and journaling parts about parts as other ways to connect in a different way, but I will save that for another video. Have a good one. Bye. Y'all, I have to come back because there's a part of me that's like, you better tell them that you are done for the day and your makeup is all kind of mushy because you've been lounging around as you've been doing other things, and that you changed shirts, so you're very casual, and that this is not how you normally look. In other words, I'm off duty as I create this, so the part that gets me looking all professional is wants me to make sure I let you know that.